The Manuel Marquez versus Manny Pacquiao fourth fight has just finished. For those of you who perhaps didn't catch any of the first three fights, thank God there's no three knockdown rule in the first time these two fought, because in the first round Marquez went down heavy, the third time especially, but he got knocked down three times. If there was a three knockdown rule in effect, we wouldn't have been able to see the fight that we saw today, or even any of the last two matches. Um, First fight, Marquez went down three times, came back and done enough to get a draw, even after going down three times. And I personally thought he'd done enough to come back and win by a round or two. Um, Gave Manny Pacquiao a lot of troubles with the counter punching. Didn't really hurt him all that bad, but the fight ended up being declared a draw. That set up the second fight between these two, which was a majority decision win for Manny Pacquiao. Marquez, for the only time up until tonight, seemed to have hurt Pacquiao in that fight, but he got knocked down yet again, and that made the main difference, giving Manny Pacquiao the second fight. I actually thought he could have won it by a round or two as well, so I didn't disagree with that decision too much. The whole reason the fourth fight happened tonight was because the third fight between these two, I don't think many people thought that Manny Pacquiao won that fight. HBO showed what had happened in the previous three fights over the rounds fought. The judges had 56 of the rounds being won by Marquez and 52 of them by Manny Pacquiao. So it was the knockdowns that had made the difference. Starting tonight, Pacquiao looked very good in the first two rounds. He was picking off Marquez. Marquez just seemed to be slow getting going. He wasn't really countering Pacquiao. Pacquiao's head movement was fantastic. Even the commentators pointed that out. And then in the third round, Marquez lands a huge looping overhand right that sends Pacquiao crashing down to the floor. For a split second, I thought he might not even get up the way he went down, but it was a hard, big right hand over the top. Pacquiao was just dropping his left hand and he got caught right over the top on the chin. First time Marquez has ever managed to put Pacquiao down. The first time has really managed to hurt him, having previously gone 36 rounds with this guy. Pacquiao done well to get up and even caught Marquez with a few shots at the end of that round. Even though it looked initially that it was a big looping punch, it didn't seem to phase Pacquiao all that much. Marquez did go in for the kill a little bit and caught Pacquiao with a few shots, but the second round was definitely Marquez's. It was a 10-8 round, making the fight even at the end of the third round, 28-28. The next round, Pacquiao took that round pretty easily. It went back to what was happening in the first two rounds, and then the round after he evened it up in terms of knockdowns. Marquez's knockdown, it wasn't a heavy knockdown, he just touched down as he was going down. It looked like it was going to be a long night for Marquez, and that punch right there is what turned things around. He caught Pacquiao flush on the chin. It was a counter right hand, and just when it looked like Pacquiao had finally cracked Marquez, great head movement, picking him off with punches apart from that one big knockdown in round three, Marquez lands a huge punch and Manny Pacquiao just went face first into the floor. He planted face first and he was down for a good few minutes. I don't know why the referee even started to count. There you can see Pacquiao was completely knocked out. Marquez had said before the fight that he was going to do this. I don't think a lot of people believed him. I certainly didn't think he'd be able to knock Pacquiao out. I thought he'd be able to outbox him this time better than ever and get a convincing points victory, but it looked like if anyone was going to win on points convincingly, it was going to be Pacquiao, because as I said, apart from that big knockdown in the third round, it was all Pacquiao. But it was a terrific right hand, caught him flush on the chin. Pacquiao went down. It was the second time he'd been down in the fight. And this kind of makes you wonder, where does this thing leave things now? I was convinced, especially with Pacquiao now in office back in the Philippines, I was convinced that was it, that we weren't going to see Manny Pacquiao anymore. But Pacquiao said that he would want a fifth match. He said, why not? As you can see from the CompuBox punch stat numbers, Pacquiao almost outlanded Marquez 2-1, whilst not throwing many more punches. He just had a much better connect rate in the punches. So, where do we go from here? Pacquiao doesn't mind a fifth fight. I mean, I don't know if Pacquiao wins a fifth fight, what will happen? Will there, if Marquez wins the fifth fight in a close split decision or points decision, I don't think there's any point in these two fighting anymore. I mean, there's, you've learned what you're going to learn from these two boxing a total of over 40 rounds. It takes Pacquiao's stock way down in terms of negotiations with Mayweather. I was worried this would happen, that one of them, either Mayweather or Pacquiao, was going to go on and lose, and it would make that mega fight, that dream fight that boxing fans have been waiting for such a long time. It would just go down the drain, and it kind of feels like it has. Even if they fight, Pacquiao's lost 2 in a row now, and there's no point in Marquez fighting Floyd because the first fight wasn't even close. But it's the end of. I hope it's the end of these two. I hope it's the end of these two in terms of them fighting each other. Um, I really don't see a point between a Marquez and a Mayweather fight. Pacquiao, I mean, if he doesn't fight Mayweather, what else is he going to do? If he goes out there and he loses to someone, another up and comer, or someone looking for big fame like Bradley, I'd hate to see him go out like that. I always thought, I was always in terms of Mayweather Pacquiao. I always thought Mayweather would have a very easy time with Pacquiao, considering especially what happened between Marquez and Mayweather. But I have a lot of respect for Pacquiao. I think even though I wasn't never a major fan of his at all, I think that he's done a lot of good for the sport. Anyone who brings this much attention to the sport and behaves the way that he does, and he behaves like a gentleman, is a credit to the sport. And I'd really like to see him, either fight Mayweather now and settle his legacy, fight Marquez if he absolutely has to, but I think there is only options left. It's a really tough choice for Manny now. I mean, I think another fight with Bradley is a bad idea. If what Bradley's camp are saying is true, and that's Bradley broke his foot, I believe what they said in the third or fourth round, and Bradley was actually doing well until those rounds, I don't think there's much to be gained. Everyone thinks that he won that first fight anyway, so if he goes back and he loses, then it means he would have lost 3 in a row. Um, in terms of fighting Marquez, he fights Marquez again and he gets knocked out or loses on points. You know, what does that leave in terms of how their trilogy really should have been scored? And at the end of the day, it's just it puts Manny in a really tough position. I mean, I would really like to see him fight Floyd before he goes out, but then again, I'd like to see him go out on a win and not a loss. He's had a great career, and let's hope he sticks around for one more.